Hello, photographers. Let's take a look at ISO, a real look, because too many people get worked up over ISO and noise performance. So I want to talk about what ISO is, how it works, and what it does to your photos. Now, most photographers, including myself, explain ISO as the setting that controls the sensitivity level of the camera's sensor. Now, in terms of results that you get from using ISO, that is correct. But as far as how ISO actually functions, that is incorrect, because you can't actually make the sensor in your camera more or less sensitive to light. To do that, you'd have to change the physical properties of the sensor, and at this point in time, that is not possible. Your sensor is light sensitive. When you take a photo, light strikes the image sensor, and the image sensor reacts to that light, generating an electrical signal. That signal is sent to the camera's computer, where it is converted into an image file. Now, we say that we use ISO to change the sensitivity of the sensor, but whether you shoot at ISO 6400 or ISO 100, the signal from the sensor is the same. Instead, when you increase your ISO, the signal is passed through an amplifier. The amplified signal is then sent on to the camera to be turned into your image file, and because the signal was amplified, the image looks brighter. That is all ISO is. It's just an amplification of the signal that's generated by your sensor. Now, the issue everyone has with this amplification is noise. So what is noise? What it is a random fluctuation in an electronic signal. And the fluctuations come from a bunch of different sources. They show up in photos as pixels that are brighter or darker than they should be, or they are the wrong color. Noise is present in every electrical signal and in every photo that you take, but the more you amplify the signal, the worse the noise gets. On most cameras, you have a base ISO of 100. This is the lowest ISO on the camera, and it has the best signal to noise ratio. This is not accurate, but you could say that at ISO 100, the signal to noise ratio is 50:1, or that the noise is 2% of the signal. At this ratio, you get the best image quality with little to no visible noise. So let's say you've got your ISO at 100 and you take a photo. At ISO 100, you get a signal that is 10% bright, and for your purposes, that is not enough light. With that 10% bright signal, you've got 2% noise, which might look like this on a graph. Now let's say you turn up your ISO to 1600, and at 1600, the amplified signal is at 80% brightness. What the amplification does is stretch the signal from 10% up to 80%. And in doing so, the noise in the signal is also stretched out or amplified. And because it's stretched out, the noise becomes a larger proportion of the signal, changing the signal to noise ratio. So before, where it might have been 2% noise, now it's more like 10% noise. That increase in the signal to noise ratio makes the random pixel fluctuations a larger proportion of your image, making it look noisy. This is what photographers are constantly freaking out about, and this has got to stop. You need to stop obsessing over noise because it is just not that big of a problem. Yes, noise in an image degrades detail, and yes, if you compare images of the exact same subject shot at low and high ISOs, the low ISO shot will clearly be of better quality. But here's the thing, if you can shoot the photo at ISO 100, then of course you're going to shoot it at ISO 100, and you'll get a nice, sharp, noise-free image. But you can't always shoot at ISO 100. Some situations require you to use higher ISOs if you want to take any kind of photos. This photo right here is an example. I shot this by candlelight. The settings were ISO 4000, an aperture of f2.8, and the shutter speed was 1/25th of a second. Now, I love this photo, and this is a photo that you could not take at ISO 100. And at ISO 4000, it's definitely got some noise in it, and that noise does diminish the detail of the image. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care that I can't count her eyelashes or that I can't see every individual strand of hair. I don't care because when I look at a photo, I don't stick my face in it and try to count the hairs or inspect the noise to see how technically perfect it is. When I look at a photo, I'm looking at it and appreciating it as a whole. The things that are important here are the composition, the lighting, the exposure, the subject, the creativity, and all of the other things that we appreciate in art. There's a huge difference between a technically perfect image and a beautiful image that takes your breath away. Now, I'm not saying that technical quality and excellent content are mutually exclusive, because they are not. But I will argue until the end of time that the content of your image is more important than the technical perfection of it. Part of being a photographer is understanding the capabilities and limitations of your gear and how to use your gear to create the image you want to create. And that means you need to understand when you can and when you should shoot at ISO 100, and when you can and when you should shoot at ISO 6400. And when you shoot at ISO 6400 or 12800 or whatever it is, don't be a sucker and start thinking, well, I can shoot this at ISO 6400, but I wouldn't print it. Because that's also a bunch of BS. And to prove it, I've got a beautiful 11 by 14 inch print of this exact photo, and it's a photo that I will proudly frame and display. Yes, you want an image that's as technically perfect as it can be, but don't sacrifice your creative vision or an important photo on the altar of technical perfection. In a nutshell, what you want to do is shoot the lowest ISO possible, but use the highest ISO necessary to get your shot. Sometimes it'll be ISO 100, sometimes it'll be ISO 6400. You need to understand how ISO works and how to use it to get the best photos that you can. And if you need a little help understanding what ISO to choose when you're shooting, I've got a free cheat sheet that you can get by visiting this link right here. It's got all the information you need for picking the right ISO in different shooting situations. Now, if you have any questions about ISO or photography in general, let me know down in the comments, and then do me a favor and like this video and subscribe to my channel. If you really like this video, please share it with your friends. But the most important thing you need to do is get out there and take some damn photos at ISO 100 or 6400. It doesn't matter. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the live show. Photo on the altar of technical... All right then. Thank you for watching. Now, I get loads of questions and they all boil down to one thing, which is how do I make my camera do what I want it to do? And here's the thing, your camera is like an instrument, and you can't make music if you can't play your instrument. If you want to learn how to play your camera like the instrument it is, visit this link right here to check out my Guide to Shooting in Manual Mode video course.